It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul Davis. Good to have you in studio with us today. An important program for you today. Spring's coming around the corner. Spring break is coming up. Summer vacations, trips to the forest. And we just want to make sure that everybody who goes out in the forest respects the forest, because that's somebody else's house. We have our house. We wouldn't want wildlife charging in and destroying our house. So the same is expected when we go to the forest. We don't want to destroy the forest. And Noelle Fletcher, Prescott National Forest wildlife biologist, is in studio today. She was here a couple times last year to talk about the bald eagles and the peregrines. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Love being here.
And before we get to the end of the show, we do have to get an update from you on the peregrines and the bald eagles.
We can do it right now.
I enjoyed those talks so much with you.
Great.
Forest stewardship. Forest stewardship. That's tough. I got to stop every time I say it. What does that mean?
Stewardship, the concept basically is taking care of something that doesn't belong to us and taking care of it for someone else, either that isn't here or is in the future. The Forest Service is public land, and it belongs to you, it belongs to me, it belongs to my sister in Pennsylvania, it belongs to the people in Phoenix, and the people in Maine own the Prescott National Forest as much as the people in Yavapai County. And so we are being stewards of something that doesn't belong to us. So we take care of it for others. And a big part of this is respecting that there are lots of different things that people want to do with their land. And we need to balance those demands and those wants. And so whether it's mountain bike riding, horse riding, ATVs, hiking, camping, fishing, hunting, target shooting, bird watching, rock climbing, all of that needs to happen on public land. And we need to figure out when and where it's going to happen. But the biggest thing that people forget is that when you go to ride your mountain bike, you're riding it in someone else's home. And when I give this talk to kids, I say, do you ride your mountain bike through the living room at your friend's house? And usually they're very sarcastic and they say yes. I said, do you ride the ATVs through the bedroom? Do you take the horse in the kitchen? No, but you're doing that when you go out in the woods, when you're out in the forest. And people may not be aware of their surroundings. Some of the things, like you might look at an agave and think, oh, what a beautiful plant, isn't it gorgeous? And be worried about sticking your shin on the edge of the leaves. But if you get in closer, you can see the ants that are living in there. Well, those ants are going to they're getting their living there, but someone else is eating them. And something else is, it's all connected. And so one of my favorites is, it's called a midden. A midden is the nest of a pack rat. And I was out in the field with some of my coworkers who are
Those are crazy nests.
I love them.
Yeah.
And my one coworker looked at it, and it was a pile of sticks. And I said, oh gosh, look at that, isn't that cool? And he looked at me, he goes, what are you talking about? I said, that midden. He says, that is something? He didn't recognize it as wildlife habitat. And then I saw another one where there was a prickly pear, and it was all tucked in around the base of the prickly pear. And it wasn't until I saw some droppings on a rock next to it that I recognized the midden. And so
somebody's home sweet home.
It's their entire building right there, you know, and just becoming aware of. One of my favorites is called a plucking post, and it's typically where a raptor will clean something that it's eating, so that when it takes it back to the nest, it's only taking edible parts and it doesn't have waste in the nest for the nestlings.
I didn't realize they did that. I figured they landed the nest and did it right there to teach the young about that.
No, because they don't want the unedible parts either rotting or causing a mess. Well, I was out down in Sellers Basin, and I came across a log with a pile of feathers on it, and I immediately stopped. And it depends on your perspective. I jokingly said to I said, someone was killed here, but then I said, it's a dining room. So I would have guessed either a sharp-shinned or a Cooper's hawk, caught a flicker, because we found lots of feathers, and they pluck it and then they just take the best parts back to the nest.
We should let folks know that are listening on the radio. You're going to want to tune into Channel 2 and watch the show, too, because Noelle brought a lot of great pictures. And so as we're talking about this, you're going through a presentation you give on a regular basis.
I am.
And I wanted you to come and give this here.
I
You came up
am.
with this last time you were here, and I really thought that was a good idea to have you come in and talk about this important matter. But the photos that are coming up are really neat. The pack rat, I've never seen.
The midden, isn't that cool?
I've never seen one that big before.
And I'm trying to describe them for the people that don't have
Right.
TV. That's why I'm
Right.
doing a little descriptive of the picture. So if it's redundant, forgive me. You know, and then we could be walking through and nests can just pop up and you don't even realize that they're nests. I mean, one of my favorites is there's a hummingbird nest that I saw when I was on a minerals. I was looking at a thing where someone wanted to do some mineral exploration, and a hummingbird nest was right about at my head level. And I stopped and I looked at it even more closely. Hummingbirds are so tiny.
Yeah.
They use spider web.
Yeah.
They harvest spider web to make their nest, and they'll use the little cottony things off of the cottonwoods to line it. And you know, I have a picture
I've actually
of them.
watched that.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, when you think of a bald eagle's going to carry a stick about this big and about this big around.
That's the biggest size of a tractor tire.
Right, and then the hummingbird is using, you know, spider web.
A
And
little thimble in the tree.
it is, you know. And so just being aware that we're either in someone's bedroom, someone's nursery, or their pantry is really, really, really
Every
critical.
every step we take through the forest is
Really,
somebody's,
Really,
it's
it
somebody
is.
else's yard.
It is.
It's nature's yard.
It is, and you know, the picture of the mountain lion that we have, not sure, but that could be within the city limits of Prescott. And so here's an animal coming into our neighborhood. And Game and Fish actually did a study where they put a collar on a lioness, and she raised a couple litters within the city limits of Prescott. And she was rarely seen. She was rarely seen.
I've heard that's pretty common, though, for a mountain lion. You don't see them.
You don't
hear
You
'em.
don't. But inside the city limits, it's pretty. Well, it could be disconcerting if you live there. It could be fascinating, depending on your perspective. And my concern is that we are aware. I had so many great days. It was actually fun doing this because I pulled together a lot of my pictures from when I've been out in the field working on projects. I keep coming back to minerals. There's a mining, people want to do mining on the forest, and part of my job is to review the project, the location, how people are getting in and out, and make sure that's safe to do. So one day I saw 3 different snakes. I saw a Mojave, which is a beautiful, beautiful, very, very lethal rattlesnake.
You said the most lethal in North
The
America.
only lethal snake in North America,
Lethal,
yeah.
okay.
Because if you get bitten, you're probably not going to survive. I saw an Arizona black rattlesnake, and that was going into a mine shaft, into an abandoned mine shaft. I saw a horned lizard, and I mean, this one was about the size of my hand. It was gorgeous.
I've never seen one that big.
Oh, it was beautiful. And then we were coming back out, and we literally went all the way down to Wilhoit and came out through Palace Station. And I don't recommend this unless you're on a quad, because I was in a truck and it was scary. And I saw another Arizona black right there by Palace.
Wow.
And for me, seeing any one of those in a day would have been amazing. So to see 3 of them in one day was just over the moon, over the moon.
Spectacular.
It is. And then I put it in contrast with pictures from another day. I went to Hazlitt Hollow Campground up in Crown King, and I had been asked to go meet with the Game and Fish up there. And there's a great picture of a fire ring in a campsite. And then the second picture, there's an Arizona black rattlesnake tucked up right against the rocks. So now the line between where we're supposed to be and where they're supposed to be is very blurred, because we've put the campground in the middle of their habitat.
Right.
They're there 365 days out of the year, and we're there for 2 days on Memorial Day weekend or spring break. And they won't be out at spring break, but Memorial Day, I would expect them. And so just being aware that if you're dropping food, if you have your pets' food and water out in camp, if you drop a half-eaten piece of of a hot dog or a granola bar, it might not be the rattlesnake that comes into it, but the mouse might, or some other small mammal that the rattlesnake might want to eat.
The chain.
So it is. It's always a big chain. And so there's a picture of me picking up the snake with snake tongs, and we ended up putting it in a cooler and moving it down the road outside of the campground, still in the same vegetative general area. And it wasn't when it, it's not like rattlesnakes brood their young or anything like that, but we needed to reduce the the conflict between people and humans. And so in developed sites we can do that. We can engineer things to keep animals, discourage animals. We can minimize the habitat that would draw them in. We can, but sometimes we have to do it with a closure, like at Granite Mountain right now.
Take a break.
Oh,
I know. I don't want to stop it because
segue.
you're doing great. I know, you're doing great. You're doing great. Prescott National Forest wildlife biologist Noel Fletcher in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We're talking about forest stewardship. Stick around. Countywide will be right back.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have two ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to Countywide. Noel Fletcher, Prescott National Wildlife Biologist in studio today. We're talking about forest stewardship, and I'm going to let you pick up right where you left off. You're doing a great job this morning.
Thanks. I mentioned the closure at Granite Mountain and Thumb Butte.
For the peregrine falcons.
It's for the peregrine falcons, and that has been one of probably the most challenging balancing acts I've done in the 18 years on my Prescott.
Why is that?
Because so many people love to rock climb, and they were rock climbing before our awareness of it being used by peregrines. And when I got here 18 years ago, they were on the endangered species list. And we started doing the closure, and we were able to have really successful nesting for years.
Right.
And they're now off the endangered species list. And while, yes, one closure of granite didn't contribute to the entire species being delisted, it certainly did. It certainly helped,
right,
because it definitely produced quite a few young, and that was actually probably the signature piece for teaching people about balancing the demands on limited resources. In that we're not going to rock climb in there from February 1st to July 15th, and unfortunately, I was visiting with someone last week who said that people that live around Thumb Butte we were so successful with peregrines at Granite that they now are also using Thumb Butte as well. And that's been going on for 15 years. And people that live around Thumb Butte, unfortunately, are seeing people inside the closure area. And people may not be aware of the fact that being inside that closure area right now, those peregrines are probably in March sitting on eggs. And so you've got two things going on. The female is committed to sitting on the eggs, so she's not going to move. The male is out looking for food. If he's being distracted, thinking he needs to defend his territory against an intruder, he's not bringing food to the female sitting on the nest.
Right.
But if people are choosing to either throw rocks off the top of Thumb Butte because it's fun, or to climb in Thumb Butte or Granite, and they flush the female off the nest, the eggs will get cold and become unviable and they'll die, and we won't have young peregrines. And so people don't realize they're in the bedroom, they're in the nursery, they're in the incubator for these birds. And people ask me, how many peregrines do you have on Granite Mountain? 2, 1 pair. This isn't like there's half a dozen more that are going to make up for the one that you've disturbed.
Right.
And the same thing at Thumb Butte, 1 pair. And the part is people can contribute to the animals being successful by honoring those closures and respecting and trusting that the Forest Service is balancing the uniqueness of Granite and Thumb Butte is being balanced between people and wildlife. It's the balance between what wildlife needs and people want. And there are alternate places to go rock climbing, and there's plenty of resources.
There's plenty of rocks around here.
And there's plenty of resources available for alternate rock climbing during the time that the peregrines are using it. Now, if we are able to determine that the peregrines are either A, not present, or B, have not successfully nested, in other words, they don't have young in the nest, or they aren't going to fledge, we'll lift the closure early and let people in to go rock climbing.
And we've done that in years past.
Yes, I have, yeah. Prescott National Forest has modified that. And that's all part of the balancing act, is keeping tabs on that. I got a phone call literally last night at, I think, 8:30 at night. Hey, 6:30. Hey, Noel, I'm seeing peregrines on Granite Mountain. Pretty sure they're sitting on something. And then I got an email. There's a nestling at the Eagle Nest at Del Rio Springs, and
cool.
the Lynx Lake pair is sitting on the nest incubating. And so that's kind of exciting.
So that cycle has definitely started. So now if we go in there and disturb that,
it's critical, especially bald
who
eagles.
doesn't love to see a bald eagle flying around?
Well, for bald eagles, the first 6 weeks of nesting, the nestling cannot regulate its own temperature. So if the parent is off the nest, it will either freeze to death, or if it's too hot, can get too overheated.
And we know how cold it is right now.
We do, and
Wouldn't take
we've
long.
got a storm rolling in just this weekend.
Right.
And so, being aware of that is really, really important. And I know it's spring break, and a lot of people are going to jump on their ATVs and head on out to the forest. And I ride ATVs. I mean, I ride them for work, I ride them for pleasure, I ride them for hunting. And the biggest key thing is to stay on designated roads and trails. If you go to any Forest Service office, we have a free map that'll tell you, the MVM map, where to go and what roads and trails you can be on. The hard part is our signs sometimes aren't in the best repair. And unfortunately, people use them for target shooting and things like that. And, sometimes they're hard to read. Yeah.
We have to take another break.
What?
We have to take another break.
Another one?
Yeah, I know. Prescott National Forest wildlife biologist Noel Fletcher in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in a quick 2 minutes.
I got no balls for losing.
Sergeant, he's in beefing.
Shocking. Drives it road all the time. Just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We just buzzed. Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. He'll be fine. I feel good.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke